Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back to another live stream. Thought we'd jump on and just do a quick little live stream. It is a little bit late to be fair in the night, but this is the first time I've had a minute to sit down and really have a look through the latest news and information regarding Everton Football Club and transfers and stuff like that. For the last few hours I've been in the gym and had a couple of other things to do when I got home. So I thought, you know what? It is a bit late, but we'll sit down and we'll do a little live stream. It won't be a long one, but there has been some quite significant news and information over the course of the last 12, 14 hours or so, specifically regarding Richarlison and a potential move to Spurs. Now, obviously, we spoke about the rumours yesterday linking Spurs with a move for both Richarlison and Anthony Gordon. We spoke about the Daniel Levy's package deal that he wanted to put together for Everton, which would obviously have included both Richarlison and Anthony Gordon moving over to the North London club, and probably Everton receiving about £3.50, a packet of Skittles and Harry Winks in return, which obviously, as we all know and as we discussed yesterday, would have been an absolute disastrous deal. But obviously the rumours surrounding Richarlison and a potential move to Tottenham have been sort of bubbling up now for quite some time. You know, when we spoke about the rumours yesterday, the Anthony Gordon thing was a little bit new to us because that was the first time we'd heard Tottenham being, a named club interested in Anthony Gordon. But in regards to Richarlison, we've known for some weeks now that they've been interested in him. I think I spoke a couple of weeks ago about, although it's painful and although to consider Tottenham such a step up from Everton, considering 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said that they were a sideward step to Everton. Just shows exactly how far this football club have fallen over the last 18 months to 2 years or so. And, I suppose, to be fair, how much Tottenham Hotspur have progressed in terms of getting in the Champions League again, bringing in Antonio Conte as their manager, keeping hold of players like Kane and Son, obviously, who were pivotal to their success. But it really just shows the criminal mismanagement of this football club from those members of the board that somehow are still in a job. I really, really don't know how. We sort of quietened down on the board situation on the channel over the last couple of months or so because, as we all know, the last 2-3 months were simply about making sure Everton didn't face relegation and making sure Everton survived the drop. And, we got behind the players, we got behind the manager, we got behind the football club, and we sort of put our issues with the board and with whoever else to one side and sort of just come together as a unit, as a unity of Evertonians, and said, you know what, forget all about this, let's just focus on the footy because there's a chance we could get relegated here. Now, obviously, the season is finished and we've had a little bit of time to let the dust settle and get over what was, let's be honest, a really strenuous season. I think it's now time to start picking up these issues again, and it's situations like this for me that really remind us of how badly Everton are being ran, not only because of the potential deal for Richarlison, which we'll go on to talk about in just a second, but also because, Richarlison is seeing Tottenham Hotspur as an improvement, which it is an improvement. I'm not going to sit here and say they're still a sideward step. They're playing Champions League football next year. They've got one of the best managers, of recent football history. They've got a couple of absolute world-class players. Everton have just survived relegation. We've got a good young up-and-coming manager, but he's not at the level of Antonio Conte. And yeah, it's as I said, it shows the absolute criminal mismanagement of this football club, because not that long ago, 2, 3, 4 years ago, you would have said Tottenham Hotspur with a sidestep to Everton. But anyway, there has been updates in the Richarlison to Tottenham Hotspur saga. Now, before we get into the specifics and the latest news and stuff about it, I feel like this one will come to a conclusion. I do. Now, there's been a lot of rumours over the last couple of hours or so regarding potential deals that have been agreed and potential terms that have been agreed. All as we know so far is that, according to The Telegraph, I believe it was Sam Wallace from The Telegraph. This was earlier on this afternoon, around 1 o'clock this afternoon. He put out a tweet saying, Tottenham have offered £20 million alongside winger Steven Bergwijn for Richarlison. The bid has been firmly rejected by Everton. We then went on to read a couple of articles from Bruno Andrade, who has the same last name as Richarlison. I think that's a coincidence, but he is a reporter over in Portugal, I believe, and he said that Tottenham have already agreed a 5-year contract with Richarlison and hope to complete a deal this week for the Brazilian. He then said, despite Chelsea's interest, talks between Everton and Tottenham for Richarlison are moving in a positive direction, and agreements for a fee should be around 60 million without involving any players in a swap deal. Jacob Steinberg then said Chelsea are stepping up their interest in Leeds winger Rafinha. A move for Richarlison is not ruled out, but Tottenham are favourites to sign him. Obviously, the Rafinha stuff was then backed up by Fabrizio Romano and Sky Sports, who've said that Tottenham have opened talks with Leeds for around a £55 million move for Rafinha, which is crazy considering there's talk about Richarlison going for only £5 million more, when, in my opinion, Richarlison is ahead of Rafinha in terms of as a player. The Times then put out an article saying Tottenham Hotspur are continuing negotiations with Everton over Richarlison, but have found the Goodison Park club unwilling to conduct a fire sale despite their financial situation. So yeah, it almost seems like this could come to a natural conclusion. And that natural conclusion would be Richarlison moving to Tottenham. There was a rumour last night from John Chappell, who I believe is a reporter for the BBC, and he said that if Richarlison does come to Spurs, suspect history will show an agreement was reached last night. Bill Kenwright and Daniel Levy were having dinner together in Scots, and I was at the table next to him. So obviously, you know, we can take that with a massive pinch of salt, because that might be absolute utter nonsense. But we all know and we all are aware of Everton's financial situation. I'm sure we're all aware of the fact that Everton's financial year officially ends on Thursday. And we sat down yesterday when we done the live stream and spoke a little bit about the the significance of that fact. Some people might look at that and think, well, what difference does that matter, Cam? If we sell him today, then we get the money. If we sell him after Thursday, then we get the money. We do. However, if we manage to make this for this deal to go through before Thursday, then we can put the profits that we're making on Richarlison, the earning that we're bringing in from Richarlison, on this year's books, which will balance the books out and make the books look a lot prettier than what they currently look now. Whereas if it goes after Thursday, then it automatically goes on to next year's books, and they obviously will be affected anyway by whatever transfers we bring in. So if that move happens prior to Thursday, then it goes on to this year's books, or this period of books, whatever. I don't know if it's done on a yearly basis or every couple of years, and therefore automatically making it seem a little bit better than what things are. And obviously that will be beneficial in Everton's conversations with the Premier League about spending money and FFP and P&L and all that sort of stuff. So, having said that, how likely are we that Richarlison remains an Everton player post tomorrow night / Thursday evening? I think if this deal is to be done, I think Everton will want to get this over the line fairly quickly for a couple of reasons, really. Not only because of the situation with P&L and balancing the books and stuff and wanting to get it done before the new financial year starts, but also because there's no nice way of going through this. We could potentially, and maybe, if we're being honest with ourselves, we are likely to lose arguably our best player. Certainly one of the most loved players at the club from fans, and a player that has ultimately been here for 4 years and played his absolute heart out for every moment that he's been here. He was pivotal in keeping Everton in the Premier League last season. He single-handedly dragged us through a number of games towards the back end of the season, scoring some really, really important goals. And he's an absolute fan favourite. We all love him. There's absolutely no going about that in any other way. And I'm sure we'll all be equally as devastated on the day that he is presented as a player of somebody else, be it Spurs or anybody else. However, I think the majority of Evertonians, and don't get me wrong, as I said, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I certainly feel this way, and I'm sure a lot of Evertonians and, you know, the 79 people watching, let me know if you agree with what I'm about to say. But I think if this is going to happen, we'd all rather it happen sooner rather than later. You know, and I've just been having a couple of conversations with a couple of Blues on Twitter then, and there's still Blues that are adamant that Richarlison doesn't want to move, and that this is solely a deal being done because Everton need the money, and the player actually wants to stay at the football club, but he's sort of being told he's got to go. I don't believe that, to be honest with you. I don't believe that. As I said, we've just read a couple of articles then that could be complete and utter nonsense, don't get me wrong. They could be absolute bollocks, but if they are to be believed, it seems like Richarlison and Tottenham Hotspur have already agreed a contract, 5-year deal, if rumours are to be believed, and the situation is only being stalled by Tottenham's, quite frankly, offensive bid to try and bring him into the football club. And if Richarlison has already agreed terms with Tottenham Hotspur, that would suggest that it's not quite he doesn't want to leave, he's just got to leave because we need the money. It's more, actually, he probably does want to leave. I think Fabrizio Romano had spoken a couple of days ago about Richarlison and his team having contact with Tottenham as well. So I don't think it's as sort of maybe. I don't think it's as we may want to see it, in the sense of that Richie desperately wants to stay, and it's the club that are having to sell because of money reasons. I think he probably does want to go, and I don't particularly blame him for that, to be perfectly honest with you. I've said it a couple of times, Richarlison deserves to be playing Champions League football. Now, is it going to absolutely kill me to see him going to Tottenham? Of course it is, because 3-4 weeks ago, if you'd have said to me, right, Cam, Richarlison's going to leave this summer regardless of what happens, he's going to leave, he wants to play Champions League football, he's going to move on from Everton, where do you think he will go? I'd be saying a Real Madrid or a Barcelona or somebody like that. I wouldn't be saying Tottenham Hotspur, because again, you know, when you think about Tottenham, you still sort of think about them as that's a bit of a sideward step for Everton, but it's not now because of the positions, but historically it would have been, and even at times would have been a downward step. And as I said, that further indicates the damning and criminal failure of this football club from those at the top of the club who somehow are still employed. But yeah, I do think once a fee is agreed, I can't see there being much of a delay with this one, to be honest with you. I can't. I think we're literally waiting on a fee being agreed, and that might, you know, that might take a while. That might go beyond Thursday. It might go beyond next week. It might go beyond, you know, the next couple of weeks, because ultimately Everton seem at the moment unwilling to budge with anything that is below their expectation. Don't get me wrong, I like Steven Bergwijn, and it seems like Everton like Steven Bergwijn as well, because we've had a couple of rumours about him, which we'll talk about in just a moment. However, £20 million plus Steven Bergwijn is offensive. In fact, it made me laugh when I read it today, because you're telling me now that Steven Bergwijn is a 40-50 million pound footballer, because I'm sitting here thinking, well, I'm wanting 70 odd million pound for Richarlison, so that means Tottenham and Daniel Levy are believing that Steven Bergwijn is worth 40-50 million pounds, which he isn't. Now, if you look at a situation I mentioned before, which we've seen an awful lot of tonight, Chelsea have just opened talks, or have opened talks with Leeds over a deal for Rafinha for over 55 million, could be rising to 60 million pounds. Now, I like Rafinha. I think he's a good player. I think he's a talented player. And you know, ultimately, he again, I think he's got a lot to offer. He's not in the same level as Richarlison, in my opinion. He played 35 games last season in the Premier League, scored 11 goals and got 3 assists, which I actually think is better than what Richarlison got. But again, you know, over the course of the years Richarlison's been at Everton, he for me is worth more than what Rafinha is worth. However, here lies the problem, doesn't it? Here lies the failures of this football club. Richarlison got 10 goals, 5 assists in 30 games. So actually, Richarlison's stats were better last season, and he didn't even have a great season. But here lies the issue. And that issue is because of the criminal mismanagement of this football club for the last 5-6 years, because of the money that we've wasted, because of the dreadful managerial appointments and director of football appointments and CEO appointments and various other appointments that the owner has made, and the decisions to keep certain people at the club that shouldn't be at the football club. We're now in a position where we are unable to get what we believe would be ultimately the right fee for Richarlison, if that makes sense. So we can sit here now and say, well, if Rafinha's worth 55, Richarlison's worth 70 plus, and I absolutely believe that. I tweeted it before. If Rafinha is worth £55 million and is going to transfer for £55 to £60 million, Richarlison is worth 70 million plus. Easy. However, because of Everton's financial situation, we're not going to get 70 million plus for him, are we? Now, there is a rumour going around that it's 60 million from Tottenham, which, when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, is only £10 million more than what we paid for him when you include all the add-ons. So it's actually, considering he's been here for 4 years and he's significantly improved from when he signed, it's not that big of a profit whatsoever. But the reality is we're absolutely brassic lint. And Daniel Levy is a very, very, very shrewd businessman. Is notoriously difficult to work with. And ultimately, at the end of the day, he doesn't overpay for players. Hence why he's trying to test the water with a 20-odd million pound bid, which is just absolute nonsense, in my opinion. Nonsense. Yes, you can add Stephen Bergwijn to it. Sound, yeah. Stephen Bergwijn isn't worth the 40-50 million pound that would make up the valuation of Richarlison. But ultimately, Daniel Levy knows, well, hang on, these are skintier. So I'm not going to go in and say, we'll give you 80 because they'll take that because that's what he's worth. We'll go in and say, we'll give you 40 or we'll give you 45 because they'll be thinking, well, yes, he's worth more, but we need that money. And the player is likely, wants to go anyway. So it's difficult. And as I said, it's sad. It really, really is sad because we're now on the verge of losing arguably our most important player, arguably the best player that has been at the football club consistently. In fact, I wouldn't even say arguably, the best player over the last 4 years that he's been here consistently. Since Richarlison come in, there hasn't been a better player in an Everton shirt over that period of time. And we're now on the brink of losing him, which is devastating in itself because of how much he brings and his effort and his passion and his determination and his desire and his goal scoring ability and his ability to wind opposition players up and get in players' heads and stuff like that. Everything he brings as a footballer, we're about to lose. But we're also about to lose him for very minimal profit because of the situation we've been put in this. And the situation is we've just survived relegation barely by the skin of our teeth on the penultimate game of the season with Richarlison in the team and in the squad. And yes, I'm not blaming Richarlison because he was fantastic when he needed to step up last season. But Everton will be looking at that now and ultimately thinking we need to significantly improve this team. And unless we sell, we're unable to significantly improve this team. And Daniel Levy will also be looking thinking these need to significantly improve here because otherwise they're going to be fucked. And unless they sell, they're not going to be able to. So the ball is in Tottenham's court ultimately, and it shouldn't be like that. After £500 million spent, numerous managers, numerous directors of football, numerous players, we should be in a position where we can say to Tottenham, even if we're not in the Champions League, we should be in a position where we could say to Tottenham, nah, you're alright, we don't need the money. We're going to go out and spend 100 million this summer anyway, regardless of whether we sell nobody or we sell everybody. because we've got that leeway to do that, because we ran well, we managed well, we're self-sustainable, we've got a good recruitment policy. And this is all things that could be put in place without even taking into consideration your league position, or whether you're in European football, or whether we've won a trophy in that period of time. Good recruitment policy, self-sustainable, ran well, people in charge of the football club who know what they're doing. But no, we're not in that position. We've got clowns at the top of the football club who haven't got a fucking clue what they're doing. We've wasted stupid amounts of money. We've just survived relegation and we're on our arses. We can't spend a penny unless we sell. Which therefore leaves us in a position where, yes, we can sit here and say we're not willing to sell him until you meet our evaluation, and that's right. But the reality is our evaluation will be lower than what it should be for Richarlison because of the situation that we're in. Let's just hope it's not as low as 20 million quid plus Steven Bergwijn, which obviously has been rejected today, according to the Telegraph. That bid was firmly rejected by Everton, apparently, as the words read. And as I said, a couple of rumours have stated that if Everton are to bring Steven Bergwijn in, or Harry Winks for that matter, that those deals would be separate deals and wouldn't be anything to do with Richarlison, which is interesting because The Athletic have put a report out saying if Steven Bergwijn was to join Everton, it would be a separate deal to the Richarlison deal. Ajax are still trying to push the winger. However, if that deal drags on, Bergwijn will consider staying in England. Sky Sports says Tottenham are offering Everton winger Steven Bergwijn as they are frustrated with Ajax for not offering enough. Now that for me, that's just a red flag. To quote a common phrase used with relationships, that is a red flag for me. I like Steven Bergwijn. I think he's a decent player. I think he's talented. There's definitely a question around his attitude. But if you've got a player there that is effectively saying, I'd rather go back there because I'm from that country. They've got Champions League footy. But if they keep pissing about, yeah, I'll come and play for you. I don't really want that. And yet you might say, well, Cam, Everton are in a position to be pick and choosy, and that doesn't mean that he's going to come to Everton and not perform or not care. But we've basically got a situation where a player's going, I don't really want to come, but if I've got to come, then I'll come. And that's when you get the attitude of a Fabian Delph or various other players we've had down the years where they turn up, they're not that arsed, they get a wage, they go home, they don't really care if they play well or they don't play well, they don't really care if we win or we don't win. The complete opposite to what Richarlison is. So, yeah, listen, it looks like he's on his way out, doesn't it? I am dreading the day seeing him in a Tottenham shirt or a shirt of any other football club for that matter, but it looks likely that it'll be Tottenham at this point. Whether that be tomorrow, whether that be Thursday, whether that be Friday, whether that be the next week, it will be painful. But as I said before, if this is going to happen, then just get it out the way. Get it done. Get it out the way, and then we can move on. Then we know that we're going to get the announcement of James Tarkowski, or we can assume we're going to get the announcement of James Tarkowski over the next couple of days. We can assume that we're going to get some form of kit reveal over the next couple of days as well. There's been a couple of leaked pictures today on social media. The Harry Winks situation is that. I've seen a report, a tweet today saying Tottenham want a buy obligation to buy for £20 million of Everton to get a loan for Harry Winks, which would just be a disaster. A disaster to put it into comparison. And this really, really, really does put it into comparison, by the way. And, you know, when I said yesterday about Everton bringing in Harry Winks when Tottenham have just brought in Yves Bissouma, and Yves Bissouma is the type of player Everton should be looking at, as opposed to Harry Winks, who, for me, doesn't really suit the Premier League as much anymore in terms of that style of player. To just back this up, really, bear with me 2 seconds while I find what I'm looking for, which is a very famous song, I believe. Crystal Palace are on the verge of signing Czech Decore for £18 million on a long-term contract. Check the Corey for £18 million on a long-term contract is the type of player Everton should be looking at buying, not Harry Winks for £20 million. And as I said yesterday, if Harry Winks comes in, I'll get behind him, I'll support him, I'll back him, because he'll be an Everton player and he'll deserve the same backing as any other new signing gets. But that's the difference. As you're looking at Crystal, we sit here and say, but it's going to kill seeing him go to Tottenham, because that's like a sidestep, but it's not, is it? Tottenham is a very clear step up for Richarlison, and that's why I'm not particularly gutted or upset with him for doing that, because he's got Champions League football, he's going to live in the capital, he's working under Antonio Conte. Although size of the football club wise, Tottenham are nowhere near as big a football club as Everton, the position that they're in at the moment is much better than the position Everton are in, which is one of them. Because Tottenham, over the last few years, have been a club that have always flirted in and around those top spaces. Got to a Champions League final a couple of years ago. But when you're looking at, and this is no disrespect, by the way, because the clubs I'm about to mention, I have a full respect for. But when you're looking at Palace and Leicester and Wolves and West Ham and Brighton and all of these teams that 18 months ago, 2-3 years ago, you would have said are nowhere near Everton Football Club in terms of the size of the club or, the position and where they were in the league, are now surpassing Everton because they've got a much better recruitment policy and their recruitment is fantastic. They've got an identity, a way of playing. The fans believe in what the club is doing, and yes, we might be trying to get to that with Kevin Thelwell and Frank Lampard, but again, the Richarlison deals like even it just shows the absolute gross mismanagement of this football club from top to bottom, and if it was true that Bill Kenwright has been at dinner with Daniel Levy over the last 48 hours regarding the deal for Richarlison or Harry Winks or Stephen Bergwijn or he might have just been there as a mate. If he was there to discuss business, why? And I've seen a couple of people on Twitter today saying, well, Bill has got a lot of involvement in our business. He had a lot of involvement in the Dele Alli deal. He openly admitted that. But why has he? I'm not disputing that he has. I'm not saying that it's a surprise. I know Bill Kenwright is involved an awful lot in Everton's transfer dealings. But why is he? Because he's not the director of football. He's not the manager. Apparently, he's just a fella that goes the game. He's the chairman. He goes the game. He has no say on the decisions of the football club. Well, why is he negotiating deals then? Why isn't Kevin Thelwell at dinner with Daniel Levy? Now, don't get me wrong, they might not have been at dinner and this BBC reporter might be chatting absolute nonsense, or they might have just been at dinner as friends or as to discuss something else. But if it was to discuss transfer business, I really don't understand why. It's sad because ultimately we shouldn't be in a position where Everton should be in a position, for me, given the money we've spent over the last few years, given the size of the football club, we should be in a position where if we're losing Richarlison, we're losing him to Real Madrid or Bayern Munich or Barcelona or PSG or a club that, or Man City, a club that is unattainable, not to a club that 2 years ago were in a similar position to what Everton were 3 years ago maybe. But that is that's where we are, I suppose. There's not much we can do about it. Well, there is much we can do about it. We can actually get fucking people in the club who know what they're doing, understand what they're doing, and we can get rid of these useless, inept knobheads who haven't got a fucking clue. But whether or not they'll do that is a completely separate issue, isn't it? And we'll wait and see. Greg O'Keefe The Athletic also reported late last night that Tottenham are not the only big club in the Premier League interested in Anthony Gordon, which is interesting, isn't it? He didn't say who else was, but he just said Tottenham are not the only club interested in Anthony Gordon. So yeah, we'll wait and see. Pedge just put up a fantastic tweet, by the way. It says, "It's staggering that the same people who got us into the situation the club is in are the same people trying to get us out of it." Absolutely spot on. I couldn't agree more with that. I couldn't agree more. Everton have been through a strategic review of the club and nobody has lost their jobs. And yet, the reason we're going through a strategic review is because we're in a situation that everybody at the club deems unacceptable. And yet, the people that put us in the situation are still at the fucking club. You know, it's mad. It's absolutely mad. It's like somebody said to me earlier today, it's like starting a house fire and then wanting credit for trying to put the fire out. I've just lashed my pen across the room by accident. It's sad. It's sad because we shouldn't be in this position. And yeah, as I said, one thing I would say about it is if he's going to go and he's going to go to Tottenham, let's get it over and done with, please. I can't be arsed sitting here and talking about this for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Is he going to go? Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? All for him to leave. There's many a reason as to why this deal needs to be done quickly. Firstly, is because of the financial situation and the balancing of the books and stuff. This is, by the way, if the decision has been made. If Richarlison has decided, I'm going to Tottenham, or I'm leaving the football club, I want to go to Tottenham, get the best deal for him and get it wrapped up ASAP. Again, as I said, because of the balancing of the books, because of the fact that if it's going to happen, it's better to get it over and done with and make it painless. And also because it means that we then have that money to spend with a full pre-season ahead of us, and Frank Lampard and Kevin Thelwell can sit down and go, right, okay, that situation's done now. We've lost Richarlison. We're sad. He's a big loss. We've now got 4, 5, 6 weeks before the season starts. Well, 4, 5 weeks before the season starts to go and, you know, ultimately replace him with a couple of players that can come in and improve this team, rather than selling him with a week to go and then thinking, shit, how do we replace him? I don't know. And this isn't a done deal, by the way. It's the biggest bit of information we've had today is that, according to the Telegraph, Everton have rejected Tottenham's offer for Richarlison, which was £20 million plus Steven Bergwijn, which, as I said at the start of the live stream when there was about 3 people watching, now that there's 200 watching, I'm going to say it again, that's basically like coming to Everton and saying, we'll give you a packet of Skittles, a Freddo, and Alan Brazil's autobiography signed for Richarlison. Effectively, that's what you've done there. £20 million plus Bergwijn is a nonsense. And I'm at the point now where we shouldn't be accepting any player swap deal. It should be straight cash. And however much that will be, we will see. But it is absolutely for certain that that price will be significantly lower than it should be because of the gross mismanagement of this football club over the last 5-6 years. It's as simple as that. It's absolutely as simple as that. But we'll wait and see. But as of now, apparently Everton have rejected the bid from Tottenham for Richarlison. Let's just hope we stay true to what we want. And hopefully we see the right amount of money, or certainly an amount of money we can sit here and go, do you know what? Take that and go and use it elsewhere. I mean, external to Spurs fan who says, you're not bigger. Spurs have won 2 league titles, 8 FA Cups, 4 League Cups, 7 FA Community Shields, 1 European Cup Winners' Cup and 2 UEFA Cups. Well, Everton have won 9 leagues, 5 FA Cups, European Cup Winners' Cup. Yeah, you haven't won a league since like the 50s or something like that, have you? 60s, so... yeah, I'm not having the conversation of who's bigger, Everton or Spurs. My point is that 3 years ago, Spurs would have been seen as a sideward step to Everton. And that is a credit to Spurs and what they've managed to do in that period of time. But I think it's more so a damning look at Everton and ultimately how far we've fallen. There's 200 people watching, by the way. If you could hit that like button, it would be a massive would mean a massive amount to me. If you're new, by the way, don't forget to subscribe. We are aiming to hit 7,000 subscribers. We're at 150 other way, so if you could hit that subscribe button, that would be absolutely fantastic. 200 people watching at 11 o'clock at night, by the way, is absolutely unbelievable. Dan Mitch says, just need to accept where we are at the moment and snap up a lot of 10 million or less signings to bolster the squad, or maybe get a couple of proven players and a couple of youngsters in other leagues showing potential. Well, yeah, you look at Chelsea, for example, who are about to sign Rafinha, maybe signing Sterling. We'll probably bring in a couple of other players. And there's players there at Chelsea that will be on the brink of or will certainly be thinking, do I need to move on here? Your Pulisic's, your Conor Gallagher, your Hudson-Odoi, players that Everton should be looking at and thinking, can we pick up these players on relatively cheap because they're wanting to leave because their opportunities are thinning at Chelsea. But it's not just Chelsea. There's other clubs in England in the Championship, but there's clubs abroad as well. As I said, Czech Takore has just gone to Palace for 18 million quid. There's no reason we should be signing Harry Winks for £20 million when there's deals like that out there to be done. It's as simple as that. I'm not having the argument of... I am an Evertonian, so I'm always going to believe that Everton are a bigger and better club than Tottenham Hotspur. You're a Tottenham fan, so you're always going to believe the opposite. That's how football works. That's how opinions work. But, yeah, you ask non-Everton or Tottenham fans who the bigger club is. And I'm talking about proper football fans, by the way, not 10-year-olds, 15-year-olds who play FIFA. You ask them that question and we'll see. Nick says he supports Spurs and Richarlison wouldn't get in the team. 60 million quid to sit on the bench. Well, that's a big investment from Daniel Levy for a player that won't start. I disagree. I think if you're spending that much money, he'll get in that team. Where he fits in, I don't know, but he will get in the team if you're spending that much money. I personally think, but I might be wrong. Birang says FFP is the issue, not that we don't have access to money. Surely we would be better doing a Barca and securing a loan as a cash injection to give us more time to sell Richarlison at the right price. The rules are different over here than what they are in Spain, so I'd dare say the rules state that we can't do that. We're also in a bit of a situation with the Premier League because of Burnley's and Leeds' complaints towards the end of the season. We're now at a point where we can't really do anything that isn't straight by the book. Otherwise, we'll have the Premier League on our arse. So, yeah. Gord says, I'm sad. What's happening, Gord? By the way, I need to get back on Twitter and reply to your message. I've been shit on the DMs on Twitter just because when I've not been tweeting news, I've been forgetting about Everton. But I will get back to you. He says, I'm sad that I'm probably not going to see Richie ever play for Everton. Was open to see him July 20th. Yeah. It's heartbreaking. It is. Max says you don't have to be old to know Everton are bigger than Spurs. No, I know. I'm just saying, this new Goldbridge generation of footy fans who judge football based off what they play on the computer game is not the ones you want to be talking to. Lots of games, of course, he could play, says Alex. Chelsea all the way, says Chelsea front four, Richarlison, Dembele, Sterling and Rafinha. Be warned. Give us 100 million and sound. I don't know why you wanted us, because we're not going to get anywhere near Chelsea anyway, so I'm not asked. Dan says better fans. Spurs fan, Richarlison for 60 is a muggin, but his quality I want him, says Ashley. Interesting. 5 subs allowed now, says John. Brian says tell Levy then, Nick. Where are we? Loads and loads of comments, by the way. 211 people watching. That is unbelievable. If you are enjoying, please hit that like button. Could we get the likes to 100 before we leave? That would be amazing. If you are new, please subscribe as well. That would be absolutely fantastic. I know there's a lot of Spurs fans in here who probably won't watch any more of my content once Richarlison leaves, but if you could just subscribe, that'd be sound, because I'd really appreciate it. Get the likes in, or you're a cop-ite. No one, even the Spurs fans, no one wants to be a cop-ite, so there you go, get the likes in. You think the deal will happen, says Ali. Yes, I do think the deal will happen, because I think Levi will pay a fee that Everton will deem acceptable, and I think the player, being Richarlison, is seemingly open to the move. But it could be hijacked by Chelsea or anybody else. There's Chelsea fans in here who are adamant that he's going to Chelsea. So all as I'm really, I've sort of come to peace with it now that he won't be an Everton player next season. But I'm just devastated that we're in a position where not only are we having to sell our best players, but we're having to sell them for much less than what they're really worth because of the position that we've been put in. It's just devastating. It's absolutely. Richarlison gave us ample opportunities to be in Europe. By the way, he said 3 years ago, I could move on, but I'll stay because I believe we'll be in Europe. He said 2 years ago, Carlo said, we'll be in Europe next season. He stayed. Last year, Benitez said, you can go to the Olympics and, we'll fight for European, but he stayed. Now, this is why I have no ill feeling towards Richarlison whatsoever, because he deserves to go and play in the top in the European competitions. And really and truly, he probably could have left 2-3 years ago, but he didn't. He stuck with it. So yeah, it's just devastating. Everton have failed Richarlison. Really, it's similar to the Lukaku situation. We're not able to keep up with the expectations of the player. And that's devastating considering how much money we've spent since Richarlison has come in, and his expectation is probably just playing in Europe. And I think had Everton been in the Europa League, I think this might be wildly wrong, but I would go on record saying I think if Everton would have qualified for the Europa League last season and be playing European football next season, I don't think playing in the Champions League would have been that big of a deal for him. I think he'd have stayed at Everton this season. But given we've barely survived relegation and he's got offers from Champions League teams, I don't particularly, I don't blame him. Neither problem number 6, to be honest, says Dan. Yeah, Richarlison to be an asset for Tottenham. Sad to see him leave. Says Gian, aren't we all? He's open to a move to Spurs, so personal at teams. Yeah, as I said before, I think the only thing holding it up is the fee. I don't think there'll be much of an issue with personal terms and contracts and stuff like that. Nottingham Forest, they're a massive club, to be fair, says Kyle. They are. Don't know where that's come from, but they are. John says Richarlison. We just read that one out, sorry. Chelsea don't want him, says Nick. Brian says, so many shadows on an Everton chat, large team hyping their clubs. We don't give a shit, lads. We love our club. Wins or lose, go to bed. Yeah, well, we do, don't we? And this is why it's so frustrating, because as Ped said it perfectly there and I don't think it could be put any better. The people that have got us in this situation are the same people that are trying to get us out of this situation. That is never going to work. Never going to work. People need to lose their jobs. People need to be moved on. It's as simple as that. And maybe if Everton are taken over by Peter Kenyon or anybody else, maybe that's when we'll see real change. But until then, we're going to see more of these situations. Yeah, so it is one of them. Lampard wants Gilmore. Richarlison goes the other way, says Chelsea. Like, again, Billy Gilmore in a swap deal for Richarlison is never happening, because Billy Gilmore's a young lad with potential and a good player, but Richarlison's an experienced Premier League footballer who has scored 10 goals and got 5 assists or 8 assists last season, whatever it was. Ali says Spurs fan, but I do respect Everton even before the Richie rumour, but you've done us with the Ali deal. Have we really? I don't know whether we have, to be honest, but fair enough. Listen, Dele Alli was at Tottenham for a long time, so I understand why you'd say that. Semi's in the comments, says hello Cam, top man, what's happening, Semi? More rumours tonight about Anthony Gordon, says John Isdy. I haven't seen any more rumours tonight about Anthony Gordon. Ned's in the comments, says he's there. Hope all is well. Cam says, Will, I'm not too bad, mate. Two Dogs says SRP. Dude on source, see you next season. Forest fan here is right, mate. Max says, thoughts on Townsend, speaking out about Klopp. He's absolutely right in everything that he says. John says, Ken Wright involved spells disaster. Typically, yeah. I know Max says, feel like if we keep rejecting bids, Richie will get proper annoyed. Well, we're rejecting the bids because they don't meet what our expectations, and that's right. We shouldn't just sell the first bid somebody comes in with. My point is that whatever we sell Richarlison for, even if we sell him for a price that we look at and go, that's not too bad, that it still will be much lower than what it should be because of the position that we're in, which is shocking. Ian says, hi Cam, are we gonna Are we going to end up Everton Hotspur? I fucking hope not, mate. Hope you and yours are well. Sell the club and sack that shite out of the board. I'm good, mate. Hope you're doing well, you and your family. Yeah, listen, we'll wait and see. But I agree. Serious change needs to be made. It's external or eternal, whatever his name is still adamant that Tottenham are a much bigger club than Everton. Mate, they're not. I'm sorry to break your heart, but they're not. But yeah, we'll wait and see. Anyway, look, we are going to finish it up there then. If you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. 200 odd people watching at 11 o'clock at night is bonkers. Absolute bonkers. So thank you all so much. If you have enjoyed it, please do hit that like button. That would mean a massive amount to me. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. As I said, loads more content coming up. We'll be back tomorrow with another live stream, so don't forget to look out for that. If you watch this YouTube video, leave your thoughts down below. That would mean a massive amount to me. And yeah, there's not much more to say, is there, really? As soon as we get an update on this situation, we will be live talking about it and doing videos and stuff. And as I said, as soon as, anything breaks, whether it be regarding this deal or any other deal, we'll be back to talk about it as well. So don't forget to subscribe, because if you're not subscribed, you won't get the notifications and you won't know when we're live. So if you hit that subscribe button, you hit the little bell, you'll get notified when we're live. You'll get notified when the videos go up. And Anthony White just said Everton are like a West Ham size club, which is just absolutely laughable. You're talking about a football club who've won 9 league titles. 9 league titles. Let me just get something up to prove a point. The last time West Ham mad that you type something in on Google and it just gives you a completely different answer. The last time West Ham won a trophy was, 1980? They won the FA Cup 3 times. Their last trophy was in 1980 when they beat Arsenal in the FA Cup final. Yeah, nonsense. Anyway, listen, we'll wait and see what happens. Big thank you all for watching. If you have enjoyed it, please hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new as well. That would mean a massive amount to me. And yeah, we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues. Cheers for watching. Cheers after.